Hello everyone, welcome back to my garden. It's been a while really, and I have a broken arm. So this production is really slow and I am using a very old PC. So for today's video, we'll be discussing the cognitive development. I'll be your discussant for today and you can call me Rose all throughout. So let's get on, shall we? What are the objectives in this lesson? So, by the end of this discussion, we'll be able to discuss the domains of cognitive development in your own words. The students will be also to be able to explain how Piaget's stages of development theory can be useful for them in everyday basis or professional. And students will be able to match different learning capabilities to each cognitive stage. Sounds concrete? Let's head on to the other parts. Now, what is cognitive development all about? Well, according to Wikipedia, cognitive development is a field of study in neuroscience and psychology focusing on the child's development in terms of information processing, conceptual resources, and other aspects of the developed adult brain. And from the word cognitive itself, which means process of knowledge, memory, and thinking, cognitive development is the long-term changes of thought processes from when we are being developed from the womb until we grow older. We'll be discussing some of these aspects on the next section of the lecture. So, better get your notes ready because we'll be going in deep with cognitive development. Alright? Let's head on over to the domains of cognitive development. We have 12 domains. Hope you have your notes ready and let's dive right through it. So first, we have language development. It is when a child's acquisition and mastery of language skills are being developed. And we have attention development, which is a development in the child's ability to focus on and sustain information to specific tasks or stimuli. And as you can see, the animation I have presented, number one, language development, we have a cute little kid here. A teacher or parent taught them what the box is called. It's a cube. A child says this back to them. And maybe says a couple of things as well as they go on through the lesson. And we have their brother or sister at the side who's still learning and developing their attention. At first, we tend to be distracted so easily, and as time goes on, our attention will be greatly improved. And I hope you guys have developed your attention development well for this lesson, since this will be almost an hour long. Let's continue on, shall we? Let's continue, shall we? Next is memory development. It is the development of the child's memory capacity and memory processes as they grow and mature. Oh, by the way, as you take note, always look at the key points because during identification and elimination of answers, you would really need to read properly the key points that is being described by the question. Got it? Alright, let's continue. Next is information processing. It is the development of a child's ability to absorb, retrieve, store, and organize information. Next is metacognition. It is the development of a child's ability to think and decipher their own thinking. This is a very important development, don't you think? Next is creativity and innovation. Development of the child's creative and innovating thinking skills and abilities. Not everyone is gifted, but everyone is talented based on the efforts you put in. Remember that. Next is executive functions development. It is the development of the child's ability to plan, organize, initiate, inhibit, and adapt to complex tasks. To make sure that we won't be shaken up, It is a very important development, not just from a child, but for us adults too. Let's continue, shall we? Problem solving and reasoning development. It is the development of the child's critical thinking, logical reasoning, and problem solving abilities. This is very helpful, especially if you want to tackle a lot of problems, and it is a very important development so that it wouldn't hinder us solving problems. Next is spatial and mathematical reasoning. Hmm. I can hear a lot of children groaning on this one because it has mathematics. Well, everything here has mathematics. And this development talks about the development of the child's ability to understand and manipulate abstract spatial relationships and numerical concepts. This is very important. We may not be using like direct formulas in real life, but it's certainly helpful in developing other types of development as well. All of these domains of development that I am teaching you are interconnected. Do not be afraid with mathematics or any subject of that matter. Learn to enjoy it. Use your curiosity, and let's head on to the next part, shall we? Next is social and emotional cognition development. It is the development of a child's ability to understand and interpret the emotions and intent of oneself and others. Very important, we want to connect with others properly, to avoid misunderstandings, to really know what we want and feel. It is a very important development, especially when we are young, to be a good person and all. And lastly, we have cultural and moral cognition development. It is a development of the child's cultural awareness, ethical reasoning, moral decision making. A very important, all of the domains of cognitive development is very important, but talking about this last one is a very important development to distinguish what is good or bad with the influence of our culture and everything around us as we grow up. Of course, we have our own biases. Hint, hint. Idols of the mind from UTS subject. After getting to know the domains of cognitive development, let's meet one of the great minds and theorists about cognitive development, shall we? On to the last part of our topic for today, Piaget's concepts and stages of development. So who is this man, Jean Piaget? I do apologize if I'm butchering your name. So Jean Piaget is a Swiss psychologist and genetic epistemologist born in the 1890s. He's very well known for his basic cognitive concepts and his stages of cognitive development theory that looks to deeply at how children intellectually develop as they grow and mature. We will be discussing each and every bit of it. Now, without further ado, let's talk about the basic cognitive concepts by Jean Piaget. Alright, starting with schema, it is the cognitive structures individuals intellectually adapt to and their way to organize interactions with the environment. It is how we understand or create meaning about a thing or experience. Next is assimilation. It is how we fit new experience into an existing and or previously creative cognitive or schema. And we have accommodation. It is a process of creating new schema. It may be basing from the previous schema or a new schema entirely. Next we have equilibration. It is achieved through a proper balance between assimilation and accommodation, where there is a match between them. For example, at the very start, the child was introduced to a dog because they have a pet, and a dog has 4 legs. Therefore, the child assumed that all animals that are 4-legged are dogs. But then they got a cat, and it's also 4-legged. And we have assimilation with that. And they've been processing new schema with the assimilation because it matches, we'll reach equilibration. And the opposite of that, we have cognitive disequilibrium, when there is no balance at all between assimilation and accommodation, where there's no experience that match any existing schemata or cognitive structures within a child or a person. So, this is a process of basic cognitive concepts. Now, let's head on over to the stages of development. We have four stages of cognitive development. First up is sensory motor stage, from our birth until we're 2 years old. Look at the words here, sensory plus motor. It is when infants come to learn more about themselves and their environment through motor scheme of the stage, where it is simple and is prominent of the senses and muscle movements of the infant. We get to when we're younger, we get to learn other things, like how we move our hand, like gripping, and also the interactions that our parents give us when we were just little. And those interactions, if it's continuous permitted, we would eventually learn object permanence. What is object permanence? It is the ability of the child to know that an object still exists, even if it's out of sight. Because before its development, children acts if the object's hidden away no longer exists. Remember the peekaboos? Turns out some children would automatically think, oh, no longer exists. Your face then would just, oh, surprise, it's still there. If you keep on exposing them to that, they will eventually know you weren't really gone. Even though you're hidden away, your face is hidden away, you still have a face. Got it? Next, we have pre-operational stage, which starts from 2 years old to 7 years old. It is the preschool years, where intelligence is intuitive in nature. Under this stage, we have symbolic scheme, where it is the ability to represent objects and events by meanings of symbols. Under that, we have deferred imitation. It is the ability to imitate behavior after witnessing it, which is why you shouldn't really show the child like bad things. Like, oh, slap here, slap that. Then the child itself would slap their friend because they witnessed it, so they would do the same thing. The parents keep on shouting together. The child would learn it after witnessing it. And also, if you always say thank you and please in daily lives inside your house, your child would learn it as well because they witness it. You keep on doing it repeatedly. They would imitate it until they reach on the age you learn, oh, this is correct, this is good. Okay, this is good. And also, symbolic play. Remember when children raise up the sticks? Is it really a stick? No, it is my wand. No, it is my sword. Oh no, this is the thing I will use to paddle my boat. And also, under this, we have animism. It's the attribute. Well, it is the way children attributing human traits or characteristics to inanimate objects. Oh, Lady Teacup, you look so dashing. Your long, flowy locks. I'm not really that good in animism. Anyways, under pre-operational stage, we also have egocentrism. Ego, where a child is unaware of the perspective of others and they would assume that everyone has the same point of view as theirs. Oh, it's just me. Me, and me. I am always right. What I'm thinking is always right. Do you really think that this stops at this stage? Hello. Under egocentrism, we have centralization. It is a child's tendency to only focus on one aspect of a thing or event and exclude other aspects. You know, you present a child $100 bill, and then you present a child like three $20 bills, and the child will pick the three $20 bills because it's more for them because there's many rather than getting just one bill. And we have reversibility. It's an ability to reverse their thinking or their tendency to think some things can't be reversed at all. And due to this, we can see that in this stage there's like lack of operational schemes. There is no skill of conservation. They have the inability to understand that changes in appearance do not equal changes in amount. Like the tall and white glass experiment, even though they come from the same cup, just poured on different appearances. Oh, one child would say, "Oh, this tall one is more than this one," even though they're the same, because this is taller, or this one has more water in it than this tall one, because it's wider, thicker. Even though they have the same volume, it's just different appearance and all. They also have no compensation. They have the inability to understand that changes of one dimension can be compensated for by changes on other dimension, which is going hand in hand with conversation. That is with pre-operational stage. Now let's head on over to our elementary years, or the concrete operational stage, which spans from 7 to 11 years. It is when children has the ability to think logically, but only in terms of concrete objects and not abstract. With the keyword concrete operational stage is not yet formal. The children can think logically, but only with concrete objects rather than abstract. So let's dive into it, including concrete operational state is operational schemes that we lacked in the last stages. Operational schemes are cognitive rules that underlie mature thought, allowing the child to identify functions already described. Pretty neat, huh? And under this, we have decentering. Decentering, opposite of centrism. It is a child's ability to perceive different features of objects and situation, not just assuming that what they see is the same as what others see. They would then take in consideration of what others feel, what others see, what others think, which is very important not just for children but for adults or any age. Next, under operational schemes, we have reversibility. It is the ability to understand that certain operations can be done reverse, or things and thinking can be reversed. It's not like we also have conservation. It is the ability to know that certain properties of objects like numbers, mass, volume, or area, etc., do not change if there's a change in appearance. We also have seriation. It is the ability to order and arrange things in a series based on one dimension, such as weight, volume, or size. This includes class inclusion. It is the ability to classify objects in two categories simultaneously. Next, we have the last stage of cognitive development, the formal operational stage, 12 and up. It is the start of early adolescence until we reach to death. Sounds grim. Let's just continue on. It is when thinking becomes more logical and gain the ability to solve abstract problems and can hypothesize. In this, we have seriation and inclusion. Compared to concrete operational stage, we can now order and arrange things in a series based on several or multiple dimensions simultaneously. Multiple dimensions simultaneously. Back in concrete operational state, we can only do that in one dimension. So 1 to 2 dimensions simultaneously. And in this stage, we have deductive reasoning. It is the ability to think in possibilities by applying a general rule to a particular instance and situation. Next, we have analogical reasoning. It is the ability to perceive the relationship in one instance and use that relationship to narrow down possible answers in another similar solution or problem, utilizing planning or foresight to do that. And lastly, we have hypothetical reasoning. It is the ability to come up with different hypotheses about a problem and to gather and weigh data in order to make a final decision or judgment. This is very important to our lives. Not everyone is good at it, but we're gonna be talking more into that one. Because if you notice some things here, you'll be able to answer the questions I'll provide next. Before that, let's discuss a summary of Piaget's stages of development, starting with sensory stage. The characteristic of the scheme there is purely sensory and motor. The limitation is that children just think only by doing. But there's an accomplishment in that, is the object permanence. Remember object permanence? It is our ability to know even though the object is hidden away doesn't mean it doesn't exist anymore. Like, oh, I put away my teddy bear. Oh, I just put away my glass of water out the cupboard. I closed the cupboard. Doesn't mean it's gone. Unless there's magic. Let's stick with science, shall we? Next is pre-operational stage. Including the motor scheme, we also have the symbolic scheme, where we can now imitate, learn the way it was described. We can do symbolic play, we can develop language. There are limitations. We can only think by domination of perceptions. We're egocentric in that stage. We have lack of reversibility, lack of compensation. There's a lack of operational schemes in that stage. Then we have concrete operational states, which has the characteristics of the prior stages. Then we also got operational concrete stages. Limitation is that we can only think in concrete terms, and we can only think one to two attributes at once. But we were introduced class inclusion, seriation, and conservation in this stage. And lastly, formal operational stage. Including the past characteristic, we have formal operational. There are no cons, fortunately. And we can now think in possibilities. We can now think ahead. We can now hypothesize, which is beautiful. And that is a summary of the stages of cognitive development by Piaget. And if you notice, the factors determining development on stages and changes is maturation, biological, maturing physically, like how we grow our height, our size, our brain grows so we can take more information. Maturation. We also got influenced by experience and social environment. That is the signs determining, that's the factors determining developmental changes. And if you notice, Piaget's theory is limited in generability and have inconsistencies. Pardon me. Well, it doesn't really have any cultural difference taken into account. It hardly talks about adult development. It just starts with, ends up in early adolescence. Though it says an up, it just basically stops there. Even so, even with the inconsistencies, Piaget's theory is proven useful. And because of this theory, other theories blossomed, And it helps us understand what really is cognitive development at the very start. Because without this, other theories may come up later than expected, than what we have right now. Because of this theories of Piaget, other theories come. There are cons of this, but it's proven useful. Well, that is all for John Piaget's in cognitive development. Next topic is about neo-Piagetian perspectives of development and Vygotsky social cultural approaches to the mind. I thank you all for listening here in the garden. The other topics will be presented by my classmates, though I would highly suggest you to pick up a book. I will be putting out the names of the book that I use as references at the description. I really, really thank you for your time and do have a nice day. May your days be full of blessings. Bye bye!